Hello students, welcome to part 2 of how to program the video game Cheese Chase using Scratch 2.0. Alright, so in the first video we created our hero or the heroine of the game, Mimi the Mouse. Mimi the Mouse is going to chase a piece of cheese around the maze. So let's create a piece of cheese. Now unfortunately there is no sprite for cheese, but Scratch 2 allows you to draw your own sprites. So this is what we're going to do. Okay, in the sprites list, I want you to look for the paintbrush tool. Paint a new sprite. When you click on that, this window pops open. Okay, in the bottom right hand corner, I want you to make sure that you are set to bitmap mode. If it's not, you can click on this button here that should say convert to bitmap. Right now, I'm in bitmap mode. So down the left-hand side, we see our various tools: paintbrush, line, rectangle, circle, text tool, paint fill, and eraser. So we're going to use these tools now to draw a piece of cheese. So let's start with the line tool. Let's click on the line tool. Okay. All right, in the bottom left-hand corner, we can set our line width. I want you to make sure that you're using a very thin line width as opposed to a very thick line width. We want very sharp detail in this cheese diagram. So I'm going to choose a very thin line width. So I'm going to draw a piece of cheese here. Why don't you wait until I have the entire drawing done so you can get an idea of what the overall shape is going to be. This is our work area here. You can see that it is highlighted by a checkered pattern in the background. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I've got the line tool. Okay, so I'm going to start with a diagonal line here, and then I'm going to have another diagonal line. Okay, now in the bottom right hand corner you can zoom in. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that these two lines meet. They have to be touching. If you leave an opening here, when we go to color this piece of cheese, the paint will leak out of the shape into the background. So you got to make sure that you're meeting this point here. So I'm going to go back to 100%. Okay, I'm going to back to the line tool. Now if you want to draw a perfectly horizontal or perfectly vertical line, you can hold the shift key. So I'm going to draw a perfectly horizontal line here. Okay, and then I'm going to draw another diagonal line going across. Okay, so at any point that you've made a mistake, you can use undo up here, or you can use clear. So I'm a little bit worried about this corner here. So let me zoom in, and I want to make sure that those two lines meet. So I can do a little bit of fine tuning here with the eraser. So what I can do is I can get rid of that part that kind of overlapped a bit. And then hopefully I can use the line tool and I can kind of draw over this corner to make sure that there are no spaces. Okay. All right, I'm going to go back to my line tool and I'm going to start drawing a vertical line down, and then from the bottom edge I'm going to try to draw a vertical line up, and I'm going to leave an opening here. And I'm going to do the same for this part of the top of the piece of cheese. I'm going to start drawing a diagonal line, and then from the top draw a diagonal line here. And then what I want to do is I want to fill in these gaps with the paintbrush tool with a half circle. So again, I'm going to click on the paintbrush tool. I'm going to make sure that I'm right in here, and I'm going to try my best to draw a half circle. Now again, if you need to draw it over and over again, you can undo and try it again. And then I'm going to try it up here. Okay. All right, so let me zoom in to make sure that all of the, there are no gaps. I don't want to have any gaps. Okay, and then it looks like there's a gap here. Okay, all right, let's go back out. Let's zoom out. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now again, I can take the time and I can really do a good job here, but I don't want to take too much time. So you can pause, you can do it over and over again. Okay, so let's click on the circle tool. And then in the bottom left-hand corner, I want you to make sure that you got the outline highlighted here. So we're going to create a circle right in here. And then we're going to create a smaller circle here. Okay. All right. So now we get to see if there are any gaps in our shape. So I'm going to click on the paint can or the fill tool, and I want to pick an appropriate color for cheese. Could be anything that's yellow or in the orange family. And then what I want to do is I want to paint inside this cheese. And you see how for me, how the paint leaked out into the background? That means I've got a hole somewhere. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll paint these circles first, and then I'll go in, I'll zoom in, and then I'll try to find the gap. So it looks like there's a tiny gap here. So I want to switch my coloring pen tool back to black. And let's see if I can fill this part in. And I wonder if there are any other gaps. So let's test that. Let's hope that that was the only gap there. So let's click on the paint can tool. I use this orange here, and let me color it. There we go. Okay. So now I've got a piece of cheese that I've hand drawn by myself. Okay. So let's go to File, and let's hit Save Now. Okay, in the top right-hand corner, there's a tool here called Set Costume Center. So I want you to click on that tool, and I want you to click exactly in the center of your diagram. Now this is actually set pretty well centered on my diagram. If anything, I'm just going to move it up a bit. I'm going to click once, I'm going to set that center, and it should be okay. Okay. So let's now, in the top part of the screen, let's click on the Scripts tab. Now remember, we should be on the sprite one for cheese. And actually, let's change the name of that. So let's click on the eye in the top left-hand corner, and let's change sprite 1 to cheese. Okay? And then we'll click the little blue arrow to go back, or the white arrow, actually, to go back. Okay, so now I've clicked on the cheese sprite, and I want to click on data. So let's click on the data blocks. Okay, and then let's make a variable. So let's create a variable, make a variable. We've done this before, and the variable name will be score. Okay, for all sprites. Click OK, and now a score counter should appear somewhere on your screen. Okay. So let's create a script for this cheese now. We want to have the cheese appear in a random location. When the mouse touches it, that's the whole point. Maybe the mouse is going to be chasing this piece of cheese around the maze. There'll be a pop noise, okay? And the player will score 10 points. The player will get 10 points. Then the piece of cheese will move to a new location. Okay, so let's build this script. So let's click on the events blocks, and let's start with our first block as always when the green flag is clicked. Let's click on data, and let's set score to 0. The game always starts with a 0 score. Let's click on the control blocks, and then let's grab the forever block, snap it in place. Okay, so we want to go to the motion blocks. We want it to have it go to, and we want to have it pick a random location. So let's click on the green operators blocks, and let's click random 1, and let's click another random block here, and then let's set these values. So in the first block, the first pick random block, the first number will be negative 220, and then the second number will be 220. Okay, positive 220. That's going to be the X value. So let's now move this block into the X block of the go to X block. Okay, so the second one, pick random for the Y value. We're going to have negative 160, and then we're going to go positive 160, and then we're going to move that green block into the Y block here. Okay, so go to X, pick random negative 220 to positive 220, and then Y, pick random negative 160 to positive 160. Okay, so we'll go to control blocks, and we'll use the wait until. So let's see here, wait until. Almost grab the wrong block. Wait until, and then sensing. We'll click on the sensing blocks, and we'll go touching the mouse. Okay, touching the mouse, not the mouse pointer, but the mouse. Okay, So what's going to happen is it's going to wait until the mouse arrives. So we're going to place that inside the forever block. And then what we'll do is we'll go back to the data blocks and we'll change the score inside the forever block. We'll change the score by 10. Remember, every time you catch the piece of cheese, your score goes up by 10 points. And then for sound, we'll have it play sound and we'll have it play a popping sound. Okay, right now it's set for popping sound. Okay, so what we're going to do is let's save at this point. Let's save now. Okay, so when we test it, when we test your script, what we want to do is we want to have Mimi. I want you to control Mimi around the screen and try to catch the piece of cheese. What we're looking for is, does the cheese pop? Do we get a popping sound? Does our score increase by 10? And then does the block of cheese appear randomly in a different location? So those are the three things that we're going to check on this script. Okay, so let's click on the green arrow. Okay, so now I'm moving Mimi, the mouse, around the screen. I'm going to bump into the piece of cheese. I want to hear that popping sound, and I want to see the cheese appear in a different location. Now don't worry if the cheese is really, really big and Mimi is too big as well. We're going to fix all of that later. Okay, so this concludes part 2 of the video game project Cheese Chase. Thanks for watching. Bye.